I thought I'd read one more piece from my book, The Stories from Applewood Manor. And of course, Applewood Manor is a 100-year-old plus historic bed and breakfast in Asheville, North Carolina, called Applewood Manor. And I'm going to read from chapter 1 of the section called The History of the Historic Inn. Chapter 1, The Mountains. No history of Applewood Manor can be complete without telling the story of the mountains. They're the very soul of Western North Carolina and Applewood's home city, Asheville. As the continental plates moved closer together about 270 million years ago, the ancestral continents to North America and Africa collided, creating majestic mountains, once taller than the Rockies, and within them stores of immense wealth in mineral resources, huge masses of rocks, including those from the ocean floor, piled up to form what we now call Appalachians. The building of the mountains continued for millions of years as blocks of continental crust rose one across the other. Some rocks became so hot that they melted. There were volcanic eruptions and there were quiet lava flows. And as the molten rock cooled deep below ground, it crystallized to form granite. Some of it cooled more slowly to form coarse grain veins that became the source of minerals such as quartz and mica and gemstones like emeralds. Eventually, the building up of the mountain range ceased and the continents began to drift apart. For the last 100 million years, erosion and weather has carried away the mountains. Eroded rocks and soil piled into streams and rivers to become the building blocks for North Carolina's coastal plains and its beaches and its barrier islands. What remains today is only the core of the original majestic mountains, and yet they remain the tallest in the eastern United States. What they lost in height, they gained in mystique and beauty that draws millions to them every year from all over the world. They've become the healing medicine for the soul and the body, dispensing calming tranquility together with healing sun and high mountain air, perhaps aided by their quartz-laden soil. While the mountain rocks are billions of years old, people came only recently to the land. About 12,000 years ago, ocean levels dropped due to the Ice Age, and Native American ancestors walked on the newly exposed land bridge from present-day Siberia to Alaska. And as their population grew, they spread into Canada, the Great Plains, and the eastern woodlands, including the area that we now call North Carolina. By the 1600s, more than 100,000 Native Americans made the mountains their home, and the area became known as the Cherokee Nation. As the population of Europeans and their descendants expanded in North America, they migrated to the mountains to buy, settle, and farm the fertile bottomlands and hillsides of the region. The journey was difficult. They came by foot, by horseback, entering through gaps such as Hickory Nut, Gillespie, and deep gaps. Others came south from Virginia, Maryland, and Pennsylvania. The completion of the Macumba Turnpike in 1827 that followed the French Broad River opened up the area to commerce and tourism. Farmers could now use their wagons to transport crops and livestock to market. As wagons, carriages, and stagecoaches replaced foot and horse traffic, Asheville was on track to become a popular tourist destination. The city was settled soon after the American Revolution at the crossroads of trails on the hunting grounds of the Native American Indians along the French Broad River. The area benefited from the mountains' protection against weather extremes, and that favorable climate may have contributed to the area being a place that the American Indians sent their sick and wounded to heal. Its popularity grew rapidly, first from the discovery of gold in western North Carolina in the 1820s and 1830s. It was, however, the coming of the Western North Carolina Railroad in 1880 that really gave Asheville its biggest boost. The start of regular rail service ushered in a cycle of economic boom. The region's reputation as a haven for those seeking better health became the main driving force behind Asheville's growth. That was only accelerated as psychics from around the world became interested in the power of the mountain's quartz and their belief that many energy and paranormal vortexes existed in the mountains. Modern times for Asheville really began in about 1888 when George Washington Vanderbilt commissioned architect Richard Morris Hunt to build the Biltmore House. Builders and artisans brought from Europe to build the Biltmore stayed in Asheville to work on other structures in downtown Asheville. The result was a unique, distinctive architectural character that continues to this day. Likewise, Asheville's unique qualities and the lure of its quartz-laden mountains brought the mystics and the gifted, the poor farmers and the gold rushers, the rich and the famous, the talented and the artistic, the sick and the healers, the builders and the dreamers, all to become its citizens. And this is where our story of the Applewood Manor begins, with Captain John Adams Perry's retirement from military service in 1903 and his arrival shortly thereafter in this mountain city called the weirdest, happiest, quirkiest, most haunted place in America, to make it his home.